Welcome to CS Joseph Podcast. I'm your host, CS Joseph, every day. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing how can INFPs instead of avoiding conflict, how can they confront conflict? Oh man, what a question. I'm so happy this question was asked. Great question to the Acolyte member that asked this question. It's fantastic. It's utterly fantastic. So yeah, well, let's go over the specifics. You know, conflict really makes INFPs very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. We're talking like it's just so much easier for their SI child to just avoid conflict outright. They're probably not even in the mood to deal with conflict. And not only that, like, conflict directly gets in the way of their deadly sin of sloth, their primary deadly sin. And let's be honest, INFPs are insanely slothful. And that could be a huge problem. Yeah, they're part of the mind temple. They're all about thinking and whatnot and learning. But that sloth really inhibits their learning. Here's the difference, though. INFPs need to realize that one of the greatest sources of learning is actually as a result of conflict. If they're always having to be in some kind of safe space, right? A safe space where they're always, trying to study things from the outside instead of being in the thick of it. What exactly are they going to learn? Are they actually going to learn anything deep and meaningful? No. Their learning is going to become shallow. It'll be completely shallow. Shallow learning, which means the INFP is going to end up not really smart. They're actually going to be pretty ignorant. And let's be honest, the purpose of the INFP archetype, their purpose in life, is to bring about greater wisdom to the world and remove ignorance from the world. But how are they actually going to be able to do that? Has anyone even bothered to ask? How is an INFP actually going to do that? Well, not by, studying things and learning about things in a safe space. That's not going to happen. Because through conflict, the greatest form of learning, the fastest form of learning, and the sharpest form of learning is as a result of conflict. Why else do you think it is written, as iron sharpens iron, so does one man to another? It is really through conflict that human beings have the greatest amount of learning. So the INFP basically has to get to a point where they are forcing themselves to be in a conflict scenario, to be under like an aspect of conflict. They have to force themselves. They really do. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. If you want to supercharge your learning, get off your ass, stop being slothful, stop trying to be in your little safe space all the time, and actually realize that conflict is actually truly the only way that you yourself is going to gain mastery. For example, you see Robert Greene these days, he's like the greatest INFP in the world. Let's be honest. In my opinion, he is the greatest INFP in the world, other than maybe Keanu Reeves. But he wrote the 48 Laws of Power. He wrote so many masterful books. But here's the thing. Even he's admitted in his interviews, is like, yeah, I knew that these were the 48 Laws of Power based on my research, but I'm actually going to go try them out. And he did try them out. And he created a lot of conflict in the process. And he learned the most that way. Or another INFP who I have great respect for, Jean-Paul DeJoria, an amazing fellow. This guy walked out on his family. He lived on the street, all for the sake of his dream of becoming an entrepreneur. He let go of his deadly sin of sloth and went towards his living virtue, which is basically the opposite of sloth. And he risked it all. And he conflicted with customers. He conflicted with his business partner. And he became a billionaire. And that's, that's where Paul Mitchell hair products come from. I actually, every single week, even tomorrow actually, I'm going into Paul Mitchell the school, and I have my hair done at Paul Mitchell the school every week. I love it there. That's why I got a VIP membership. It's only $7 a month. And it's like unlimited haircuts, unlimited grooming, unlimited whatever, plus 20% off on products and whatnot. Huge Paul Mitchell fan, huge fan of Jean-Paul DeJoria, the INFP, and his success. Do you think he was actually able to become a billionaire? Do you think he was actually able to discover the recipe for success? His philosopher's stone, as it were, to transmute his poor life, his homeless life, into him being a billionaire? What a great man. A great example of the rest of humanity, just as much as Robert Greene is a great example to humanity. So that only happened as a result of him actually forcing himself to get off his ass and seek out conflict. That's how he was able to do it. He sought out conflict. And because he sought out that conflict, he learned so much. He learned something that was actually meaningful. If you're spending so much time as an INFP, you're trying to become some kind of scholar or kind of learn something to help you get a job in a school, whatnot, there's no conflict there. You're just in your safe space. Why else do they call colleges and universities safe spaces anyway? It's all about acceptance. You think you're actually going to gain any strength of character there? You think you're actually going to find anything truly meaningful there? The answer is no, you're not, actually. You're just going to be like anyone else. You're not going to have any flavor. And it's conflict that makes you, in effect, the salt of the earth. And if salt loses its saltiness, it's thrown out and trampled upon. Jesus said that, right? That's what the kingdom of heaven's like, right? So for an INFP to actually take part within that perspective, within that point of view, etc., well, the reality of the situation is like, hey, you're probably just going to have to bite the bullet. Get off your ass. Go get into a conflict situation. Learn the most. And that includes social conflict. Like, oftentimes, INFPs are so socially inept because they're just too lazy to go engage with other people. This is why oftentimes INFPs, especially earlier in life, INFP men end up with the lowest quality women. That's why INFP girls end up with the lowest quality of men. It's because they're not willing to develop those social skills. And social skills are learned through conflict. Because if you think about it, every single social interaction is manipulation, is social engineering. It really is a form of combat. I mean, sexuality is also a form of combat. You know, if you were to actually to translate the word for having sex in the Chinese language, it translates directly to the word flowery combat. Flowery combat, like a flower, flowery combat. Okay? So conflict is how you as an INFP become the greatest student, the greatest learner. And it is through conflict, through pain, through suffering, that you will be able to create your philosopher's stone and discover the standards and principles behind success in your life. Not only that, you'll even be able to share or maybe even sell access to your philosopher's stone, your, quote, recipe for success as a philosopher for anyone else out there. Think of all of the wisdom that you would gain as a result of putting yourself in those conflict-oriented situations. Because I guarantee you, you will only make yourself a fool. Thus, you will not have your recipe for success. You will not have your philosopher's stone, because the reality of the situation is that there is no conflict to sharpen it, to make it into something meaningful. You decided to be in the safe space. You decided to do what was expedient. And as a result, your life and your future is riddled with nothing but failure and unhappiness, where you're literally a prisoner of the safe space that you built for yourself. Get off your ass, get into conflicting situations, learn the most so that you can discover the recipe for success. And I promise you, as a result of that, you'll be able to reduce the sorrow in your life and actually finally find true happiness as an INFP. Mark my words. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tonight.